So in this last part, I wanted to show you some sample results of the nonlinear analysis. Once you have actually completed the nonlinear modeling using all of these steps which I have mentioned, you can perform that. For columns, you can go for fiber modeling approach. For shear walls also, you can perform fiber modeling approach. And then let's say that you perform nonlinear analysis, nonlinear static analysis and nonlinear dynamic analysis. So I wanted to give you an overview of some of the results or types of results which you may get after the nonlinear analysis. So before I go to a model which is already run to show you some of the results, I wanted to introduce this manual which I have just compiled, and I think I have introduced in the class sessions also. So this manual basically lists down or compiles all important steps of fiber and plastic hinge modeling of beams, columns and shear walls. So it discusses plastic hinge modeling for beams and fiber modeling for columns and shear walls currently. But I will expand that manual in future. This is the first draft. I will expand it to include some other aspects which are not covered currently. So in this manual, I have just started with basic approaches of nonlinear modeling, introduction, then the nonlinear modeling capabilities of ETABS. This section is mostly taken from the analysis reference manual of ETABS. And then the nonlinear modeling of columns using fiber modeling approach. This chapter is discussing both the manual definition and automatic definition of fiber hinges. Then this chapter 4 discusses about the plastic hinge approach for RC beams. Currently we haven't gone through it yet, maybe next time. And then shear walls, nonlinear modeling of shear walls using fiber modeling approach. So the same things, manual definition and automated definition. You can check this chapter and the same discussion is made there also. So this manual is in a bit more detail, so I have discussed most of the things in more detail compared to my these presentations which I discuss. So please go through it. You can download it from structurespro.info. The link is available in my slides and you can get that file. So now let me open the same model. Let's say that we have already carried out the fiber approach for columns and shear walls, and let's keep the beams as elastic for now, and then in the next session when we will learn the plastic hinge modeling, we will add the plastic hinges for beams also. But let's just run that model now, perform the nonlinear static pushover analysis and nonlinear dynamic analysis against an example ground motion, and then let's see what results we can get. So I have already run this model by giving some appropriate values of material properties and then reinforcements and then all of that thing. I have run that model, and let me open that model to show you directly the results. So maybe I can open that model. Okay, this is the same model, and now after the analysis, let's see some of the results. First, I wanted to show you what analysis I have performed. I have defined few load cases for nonlinear static analysis, pushover analysis, and then one load case here. This is for nonlinear time history analysis under the north ridge ground motion. So that we will discuss in a separate session, that how we can actually define the load cases for pushover analysis and what are some of the issues which we should consider, and how we can define the load case for nonlinear time history analysis. Actually, it is very similar to the linear time history analysis. But let's keep that discussion for the next session, and let's assume that we have already carried out these analysis. In the pushover analysis, we basically start pushing our structure with a predefined load pattern in any X or Y direction. Currently, I have performed it only for X direction of that building, this direction. So basically the forces are applied in this direction on this face on each of the floor with a certain pattern along the height, and the amount of those forces, the magnitude of that pattern, started with a very low value and increased up to a very high value, and at each increment of applied loading all the analysis results are saved. So now since this model have plastic hinges, fiber hinges basically, so its columns and shear walls can yield also. It can exhibit the IOLS and CP performance levels when the applied loading is applied. So I have intentionally made this model as gray color because I have basically modified it, the display colors here. I have just selected from here as grayscale. Otherwise, you can go for the default colors also. Why I have done it? Because when I will see the plastic hinges under the applied loading, they will be shown with different colors depending upon their demand to capacity ratios. So I wanted to see those colors to actually judge the performance of the columns and shear walls. Currently there are no plastic hinges or fiber hinges in beams, only the columns and shear walls are nonlinear. So let's see the results. Let me go to display menu, and then the very first thing we can see is the deformed shape. So now you can see here that the two nonlinear analysis cases are selected. This is mode 1 push. This is the pushover load case with a loading pattern which is proportional to mode 1. So whatever is the mode 1 deflected shape, and that is in the X direction fundamental translational mode. So the pattern of applied loading will be such that it will deflect the building exactly in the first mode pattern, fundamental sway in X direction. And using that pattern, I started with a very low value and keep on pushing until there is significant damage in that building. So I can set the target displacement that up to what level I should push the building to get the pushover curve. So very first thing I can do is that I can select, for example, the nonlinear time history analysis load case, which is the name is Northridge ground motion. And now it is the complete, I think, 30 or 40-second ground motion. I can either select a particular time instant and plot the deflected shape at that particular time instant, or I can go for the maximum option or minimum option and some other options also. Let's say that I want to, you can say, I want to see the deflected shape of the building at the 10-second time interval. So I just set 10 second, not the maximum value, but at the 10-second time during the earthquake. So, and then the additional thing which you have now because of the nonlinear analysis is this option. Here you can actually see the hinge state also in the form of colored dots. Now you know that at the end of each column there is a fiber segment, and along the whole height of shear walls all the fibers are running. So which means that in the columns and shear walls the status of a particular hinge, whether it have crossed the IO or have crossed the LS or have crossed the CP, whatever is the status will be shown here by a color legend at that particular 10th second of this particular earthquake. So let me now click on apply, and let's see what is the condition or damage of the building at the 10th second of this earthquake. Since this model can simulate that damage now, it has the capability, so we should be able to see actually the development of plastic hinges or the condition or state of the plastic hinges. So here you can see there are different colors and the deflected shape is shown, but with that deflected shape not only the displacements are shown at each node, but also the status of plastic hinges is also shown. Now the red means that these fibers have crossed the CP level already at the 10th second of this ground motion. So now you should remember that what was CP level. CP level was defined for concrete as having a strain, I think, more than 0.003 towards the end of the stress strain curve. So which means all of these columns which have red dots, they are gone already. They are significantly damaged. All those which have blue color, they are between LS and CP. All those which are green, they are between IO and LS. And all those which are black, they are even below IO. So what I did actually is that I applied a 2 times scale factor to the Northridge ground motion. So I amplified the ground motion while making the load case so that I can actually see some damage. So this is just an example case, not a real ground motion applied to a real building. I can see the IOLS and CP also, and I can also see in the form of the stress strain curve points also. If you remember, there were B, C, D and E points on the stress strain curve. In fact, on the any action deformation curve, there will be these points. A will be the starting point. Let me go back and see quickly material properties, 5000. Here in this model, I just modified it to 5000. And then nonlinear material data, stress strain curve. So I think starting point is A, then B is the point from where it first modifies, and then C, D and E is the last point. So you can see, in fact, you can see all these A, B, C, D points here also in the tabular form. If you convert that into user defined and in the table, you will see that all the points will have A, B, C, D, those will be mentioned in the table also. So now you should know that what these B, C, D and E point mean. E point is the last point on the stress strain curve. If I plot it now, let's say in the form of B, C, D and E, the legend is modified, and now whatever is the red color, which is it is already going beyond E, and it is not the maximum result, it is just the results at the 10th second of this ground motion. I can just go for maximum option, maximum, and then again then there is no need to give any time. So whatever will be the maximum response during the whole 30-40 second of ground motion, it will be plotted. So I can click on apply, and then now this is okay, this is deflected shape. Let me, so I think for this maximum it doesn't show the hinge status, but for maybe let's try for absolute maximum. Again it will give us the deformed shape but no hinge status. So hinge status is available for multi-step I think, or for time. Let's try multi-step, and in that I have to actually tell the basically I can toggle between different steps to actually see the hinge status. So this is, so I have divided the nonlinear analysis against this Northridge ground motion into 400 analysis steps. So the whole earthquake is applied in 400 steps. So I can switch between different steps. I can use this button to actually go to step 1, 2, 3 and 4, and I can see the deformed shape of the building as the earthquake is applied. And let me try if at any particular step, yes, okay, the time is, as I move between different steps, the time is modified also. So let me just directly go to 20 second, click somewhere, and it automatically will take me to that step corresponding to the 20-second time if I click on apply. So here it is the 200th step of the analysis. I will explain that about the analysis thing later, but let's see what are the type of results we are getting. Now this is a real picture of structural damage, which was not possible to get from the linear model or linear analysis. Now this is giving you an actual condition of your structure at that particular time of the earthquake. And then you can also create an animation also. I will show you the result for that animation because it takes time to actually extract that, but I will show you in a second. So that's how you can actually see the you can say the deformed shape and the condition of hinges or condition of damage in fact, or plastic hinges on that. So let me show you the animation which you can create from this point. You can open a particular view and then go to file, create video, and then here multi-step animation. If you use that option, you will be able to actually make an animation kind of a thing. So let me open that. Yeah, this one. So here for the whole duration of earthquake, whatever is the condition of plastic hinges is animated or it is shown. So you can see here that earthquake have started. So first all of them are IO level. Then at this particular stage, some go to blue color, some go to red color. So this is some peak cycles of the earthquake, somewhere here at around 18 to 20 seconds. And then after that the vibration is again reducing. So previously you were getting this kind of an animation only for the deformation values or the deformed shape or how the building will actually shake. But now along with that, you are also getting the structural damage at each instant. So you will actually, if you uh, go for the more frames per second, you can visualize the structural damage and the progression of structural damage during the earthquake also. How the hinges started at a particular location and how they actually propagated, how they actually where they are concentrated more and what may be the reason for that. All of those studies can be done once you get such kind of a graphic. So this is one of the many amazing things which you can get from the results of nonlinear analysis. Now let's again go back to the deformed shape, but this time select the nonlinear static analysis. So I select that mode 1 pushover analysis, and I think I have 15 or some number of steps for the application of that applied load. Okay, so this is the 21st step number. Let me see how many steps we have. Okay, total 22 steps. So I directly go to the last step of the analysis because I was pushing it step by step. So I divided that whole push into 22 steps. So I applied 22 increments of applied loading. So if I go to the step number 22 and then apply, and same IO, LS and CP can be shown. So now you can see here that the building has pushed in X direction and it has deformed in the fundamental sway mode in X direction because the applied loading pattern was like that. And you can see many red colors, which means that these fiber hinges are beyond CP level. They have already crossed the CP level set on the stress strain curves of these fibers. So they are heavily damaged. And those which are in blue color, they are about to get damaged, and the green ones are safe. They are far from severe structural damage. So similarly, you can also plot for B, C, D, E points. The same information is shown, but now you have a different legend. Instead of IO, LS and CP, you have the points on the on the stress strain curve, which you can see that. So all of those uh, which are let's say pink colors, they are between point D and point E on the stress strain curves of those fibers. So there are certain dots which are pink color. So now again the same kind of animation you can develop. from the create video option, and let me show you that animation. It will show you the how the 22 steps are being applied. With slow push you are kind of pushing your structure, and then with each push step you see more and more plastic hinges being formed. So this the speed is very high. I can go for more frames per second to reduce the speed, but still you can see the building is being pushed in the x direction, and as it is being pushed more and more, the plastic hinges started from the base. As you can expect that the damage start at the base and then it propagate upwards. So several columns have actually yielded at towards the end of that pushover analysis. So I have set a certain displacement of the roof that okay, up to this point you should push the building, and that was enough to create significant damage in my columns. Let's for example go to some other results which you can get from this nonlinear analysis. Uh, you can go again for the same story response plots and combined story response plots, same as you can say in the linear analysis. These two options are also available, but this time you can go for nonlinear results also. For example, let me select the pushover case, mode 1 push, and let me select the maximum story displacement. So this is the displacement profile at the first load step, and you can see it is just going up to 0.8 inches in the roof, and the deformation shape is like first mode because I push it with a pattern which was proportional to first mode. If I go for second load step, so you can see that the displacement have increased to I think 2 inches. The pattern is almost same, but the displacement is proportionally increasing because the structure initially will be in linear range for first 4-5 steps. But if I for example go directly to maybe 10th step, you can see the displacement have increased to 13 inches around. Let's go to 20th step where there is significant damage already. So you can see that the shape has also modified because there are several plastic hinges which have formed. There is significant internal redistribution of forces, and the structure is not deforming exactly in the first mode because it is no more linear structure. A linear structure when applied by a certain load pattern follows exactly the same deformation pattern because it follows F is equal to KU and K is constant. So whatever is the shape of the force, the shape of deformation is also same. But this is not applicable for non-linear systems. So at around 22 or 25 inches, the deformation have significantly increased, but the pattern is now different from the first mode. The pattern will not be much different, but obviously depend on the level of inelasticity. One more thing is that when you are pushing it in x direction, the deformation in y direction was initially almost zero. If you go for the first few steps, let's say second step, you can see that this is exactly vertical line, this red line. But when the structure is significantly yielded, it is now a bit irregular also, and therefore there are some displacements in y direction also towards the end of the pushover analysis. But the story will not be completed if I don't show you the pushover curve itself. The overall relationship between base shear, sum of all the applied forces at each step, and the roof displacement corresponding to each step. That is called pushover curve, and that is available here, static pushover curve. So you can see this is the pushover curve. I just keep the analysis up to 22 inches of the roof displacement because there were significant plastic hinges already formed. Otherwise, I could have continued and maybe this curve will go down because of the P delta effects. So the y-axis will have base shear, x-axis will have some monitored displacement. Generally, it is kept as the roof displacement. So you can see here that the structure started in the nonlinear range right from start. Maybe at a very low displacement, there is some plastic hinge which have formed or which have crossed the peak point or crossed the linear part of the stress strain curve, and therefore the overall structure is following this curve line. So this curve is basically generated by joining 22 points which are calculated from each of the step of this pushover analysis. So this is the pushover curve, and it is showing you that this structure doesn't have any well-defined yield point. It is nonlinear right from start, which is the behavior of typical reinforced concrete structures. Steel structures may have a well-defined yield point because steel yields at a very fixed, well-defined yield point. So the overall building may have a yield point also. But this kind of a reinforced concrete structure is nonlinear right from start. We can approximately idealize it by two lines, bilinear idealization, and then get an approximate yield point, but that will not be the true representative of the yield capacity of that building. The structure is nonlinear, but still having more and more shear, base shear. But if I push it up to some more levels, then it will be saturated and it will maybe go down. So this is the pushover curve. You can save that result from these tables here, and you can plot it yourself also, copy that in Excel. So all the tables will be generated or they will be available. So all the IO, LS and CP, the status of the hinges also will be available. So not only you can plot that curve, you can also see that on what point what actually happened. What you can do is that since you have already this curve constructed of 22 points, and then you have 22 damage pictures also. For example, this is the step number 22, the last point of the pushover analysis. This will be the condition of your building. If you go for step 21, some of the plastic hinges which were red, they were turning into maybe this pink or blue color. So if I go back, maybe step number 8 or 9 or 10, you can see the building is coming back to its original shape, and almost all of the hinges which were red, now they are shifted to. So the step number 0 will be completely undeformed shape, and then after that the pushover results will start. So currently I haven't discussed that what is the role of how you can get the seismic demands from pushover analysis. Currently what you did actually, you just gave a roof displacement up to which you push your structure. There is no role of an earthquake or no role of an seismic loading in this story of pushover currently. Nonlinear time history analysis, we know that we have actually applied and past modified earthquake, and now we are seeing the actual seismic demands. But for pushover results, the story is incomplete now. You can only see the curve now and the deformed shape at each step of the pushover loading, but currently we haven't connected it with seismic demands. One liner I can give you now, and later we can discuss that the idea of this whole analysis, pushover analysis, is that the roof displacement, the target displacement which you give up to which the structure should be pushed, that displacement should be a representative of the displacement produced by future earthquake, nonlinear displacement of roof produced by future earthquake. If you get an estimate of that displacement, for example 2 inches, you get an estimate from another analysis or another method, you know that in future earthquake my roof is going to get displaced maximum by 2 inches. What you can do? Now you can push your structure up to 2 inches, and whatever is the condition of your structure at that particular step of analysis, you extract all the shears and moment and deformed shapes and everything, and those becomes your seismic demands, because those are at the pushover step which has the same displacement of roof which is expected at the future earthquake or produced by the future earthquake. So everything boils down to how we get that roof displacement estimate. So there are certain different methods to get that estimate. One is called displacement coefficient method. Another is called the capacity spectrum method. And then there are different versions of these methods. They are being improved also over several years. So there are several methods available in literature which gives you that target displacement. In some method, that displacement or that point on the pushover analysis corresponding to the future earthquake is called performance point, and some analysis or some methods call it as the target displacement. Let's continue our display of different results. Let me show you these, you can say, combined story response plots. Since it will take certain time to fetch all these results, so I have already made a video for that, screen capture for that, and those are these ones. First, see the time history responses, the combined responses. So the general pattern is that that option which I have just shown you gives you the story displacement, story drift, story shear and story moment, the maximum values and minimum values along in the whole history of duration 40 seconds of an earthquake, and in between the maximum and minimum is the instantaneous value at each step of the analysis. So the blue line in between will fluctuate between these extreme values. So let me play that. So I animated it using this option. So now it started animating. Here you have the actual ground motion, and at each step of the ground motion, the values of displacement, drift, shear, moment, they are fluctuating. And green and red are the minimum and maximum values respectively. So just like the linear analysis, linear time history analysis, you have the combined response plots for each of the load step. So I show you that I told you that I have divided this nonlinear time history analysis into 400 steps. So the whole earthquake is applied in 400 steps. So for each step you can see the animation shows you the global story responses and their fluctuation. So let me close it now and let me show you the same story responses for static, nonlinear static procedure, pushover analysis. Since I push this building only in one direction, positive x-axis, so there are only forces or moments or shear, everything is in just one direction. It is not fluctuating in positive and negative. So displacement profile, this is the maximum displacement at the last step of pushover, 22nd step, where I push it such that the roof displacement is around 22.5 inches. This is the drift at the last step, shear and moment at the last step. So let me animate it now, and for all 22 steps, the variation of these forces will be shown. So I animate it here, and it now shows me that with each more and more force, the displacement, shear, moment and drifts, they are increasing until they just reach to the maximum value towards the last step, which is the 22nd step. So you can see that they are proportionally increasing, but towards the end of the analysis, for example, here you can see that they have almost saturated or reached to the peak value at the 17th load step. Around 17th load step, you can see that these already have reached to the peak responses. And after that, after that, the loading is being applied, but the responses are not increasing. And the reason is that the structure have developed significant yielding already. So the forces are already at the yield values. So you can see here that for last 1 or 2 steps, there was not that significant increase in the responses. So now let me go back and show you 1 or 2 more results about nonlinear analysis. I have covered the deformed shape and the damage pictures on those deformed shape. then maybe story response plots. Hinge results I wanted to show you, and pushover I have shown you already. So just two more results. One is plot function, other is the hinge results. Let me go to the plot function first. This is an option where I can actually plot the graph between any two quantities and save the results also in the tabular form using this option. Currently by default it is showing me the base shear in x direction and I think roof displacement or the step number on the x-axis, step number of the pushover analysis. Let me for example select the time history analysis, nonlinear time history analysis, and let's select the horizontal function as time. Let's keep it as it is, and let's select the vertical function as the base shear. So now this is the base shear corresponding for all 40 seconds of the ground motion. This is the base shear time history response for the whole 40 seconds. If I want to plot the displacement of a certain node, I can click on this option, the vertical function, and I can add any vertical function which I want. And then in that case, I can have different options here. For example, I can add a story force or joint velocity displacement. Let's plot the joint displacement along the time axis for the whole duration of the earthquake. Let's call it, the function name is PF1. It is the joint displacement. That joint is of the story 10 and the joint label is joint number 10. Let's just use it. And then the response type is displacement. It can be absolute displacement or relative displacement. Relative means relative to the fixed base. And component is ux in x direction, and it can be all 6 components of the displacement. So let's plot the x-axis displacement of the joint number 10 of the story number 10 for the whole duration of ground motion. So I just click OK, and in the in the selected functions I exclude base shear and include this PF1 on the vertical axis. So this is the vertical plot function, and I click OK. So now this is the displacement of that particular node for the whole 40 seconds, which is at story number 10 or at roof. So you can explore that option and you can plot the different quantities, one on x-axis, one on y-axis, and you can actually, even you can get the pushover curve from here. Put the x-axis, you can say as the base shear, as the roof displacement, and y-axis as the base shear in x direction. You will get the same pushover curve. So you can plot any two quantities here and then save the results. Now the last option I wanted to share is, and it is also a very important one, is the hinge results. Whatever you nonlinear hinges, fiber hinges you have defined as an input, now you can go back to all of those hinges and see the applied loading, what is the condition of those hinges, or what force deformation is produced by a certain applied loading. So let me go to hinge result. Let me just simplify my view. So let me delete all of these other views, maybe this one also, then story responses also, and let me expand that one. Okay, so now this will give me all the hinge results. So since we have defined fiber hinges, so ideally the results are calculated basically at the fiber level. Then what program have done is that it have integrated all the results of fibers, axial forces and of fibers, and have calculated the resultant moment, and have also calculated the rotation of that element to which that column fiber was assigned, fiber hinge was assigned. So this let's see first this form. The load case is selected as mode 1 push. We can also change it to the time history, nonlinear time history. The degree of freedom of the hinge is M3. There can be P, M2 and M3 options. So this is the flexural degree of freedom in M3 direction, basically in the 3 direction M3. And story 1 frame is the object type and frame type is column and column label is C1. That particular column C1, although I can select any column, this is the whole list of all the columns, but that C1 have two hinges. These are the two hinges which that C1 column had. So let's say I select one hinge for that C1 column, and that was a fiber PM2 M3 hinge. Now, what program I've done is that it has integrated the fiber responses into moment M3 and into rotation of that column and plotted the moment rotation curve for that column caused by the applied loading. So this is the mode 1 push, and this is the step 0. I can move on each of these steps and see that in the 22nd step, this is the final point up to which this particular hinge have reached due to the pushover analysis. So I have the maximum rotation of 16 or maybe 15 radians in this column and the maximum moment of around 140 kip feet. So applied loading at the 22nd step have caused these peak responses, and all of the intermediate responses are also plotted. But we actually may want to see the fiber results, not the integrated results at the element level. What program have done is converted the fiber results into element level result so that we can see the overall column behavior under the applied loading. So we can see that this loading, pushover loading, have actually caused yielding in this column. First at this point, then at this point, and it is continuous yielding in that particular column. But if we want to go for fiber results, there is an option here. Show individual fiber results here in the top. You can click on that option, and here in this new form, you can see the result of each fiber. You can see that each concrete and steel fiber on the stress strain curve which we have given, how much is the level produced by the applied loading. So here you can see that this is fiber number 13, for which we are showing you the results, but we can toggle between these. So you can see here the red dot will be blinking and it has maybe 20-30 fibers, this particular column. So I can see fiber by fiber the results. For example, let's see the fiber number 13 now. Fiber number 13 is an extreme concrete fiber, and you can see here that it has gone under compression almost up to the peak level. It is about to crush this concrete, the cover concrete. But let's see about, for example, this one, fiber number 17. This is also an extreme cover fiber for concrete, and it has gone into the tension range a lot, far more than the cracking strain set in our material model. So the red line is our input, which we have given as an input to that fiber. But the blue line is the response caused by the applied loading. So they are overlaid, and now you can see the performance straight away. So now this concrete cover has spalled already. This is cracked in tension. May not be spalled, but it has developed cracked in tension. This one was about to crush in compression. So you can imagine that when this structure is being pushed, one part of the column is under compression, one part is under tension. So the result should make sense according to the applied loading also. So you can check fiber by fiber. Some fibers will be of steel. Anyways, you can check the results for each fiber. You can find that option and you can go for steel also. This is currently showing for concrete. So the summary is that you can not only see the fiber responses, each fiber you can see whether it has failed or yielded or cracked or crushed. You can see the overall member hinge result also. This is the integrated result combined of all the fibers. This is how your column has behaved under pushover analysis. Same can be the case for nonlinear time history analysis. You can select a different load case and then all the fibers will be different, all the results will be different. See, now this is under nonlinear time history analysis, this is the same column hinge. Now, since it is a dynamic loading, so you can expect that the response will be in both positive and negative side. So this is a cyclic response. And if you can guess that this response is actually following a certain hysteretic behavior, and that behavior we have given as an input while defining the materials. So if you see the fiber result, that will be more clear. So see here that when there is an unloading before the actual yield, it doesn't have a significant wider loop. But if I can find a fiber which has significantly yielded, in that case, okay, here you can see there is a certain rule which is defining how the fiber should, how the stress strain curve should unload and reload. So there are several random cycles of applied loading which finally resulted in this kind of a fiber cyclic behavior. And every time the cyclic behavior is capped to the monotonic behavior, the backbone behavior. So every time it reaches to the backbone, it just unloads or follows that backbone. So that's how fiber by fiber analysis, step by analysis step, you can see the fiber results. So maybe if you go for maybe 100th step, this will be the condition. And at each step you can see that dot moving on that blue line, showing you that this will be the location of stress and strain or condition of stress and strain in this fiber at that particular analysis step. So there is a whole lot of data and you can extract that, copy that, plot it yourself, try to understand it. I just wanted to show you the type of results, and later you have everything with you and you can start modeling and analyzing and checking all those results. So I think I will end this session here, and in the next session we will discuss the plastic hinge modeling approach, and for that we will model the reinforced concrete beams using plastic hinges, and then again we will run the analysis and see all the results of those hinges and what is the condition of those hinges. There is also a very systematic way of checking the DC ratios in terms of displacement and classifying different elements based on the DC ratios, whether they are more than 1 or less than 1. Imagine a view where instead of IOLS and CP, I can plot the DC ratios for using while using, let's say, collapse prevention as the capacity. So whatever DC ratio will be more than 1 will mean that the collapse prevention has already crossed by that particular element. So there is also a systematic way of checking DC ratios and classifying elements into different colors based on their DC ratios. That also we will see in the next demonstration, and that has something to do with this performance display performance check option. So we will create a performance check and then program will tell us that whether that check has passed or not. So we will visually see the DC ratios and the classification of elements based on DC ratios. And those DC ratios will be deformation based DC ratios. We can use PM to M3 hinge for beams and shear walls also. If the moment in the second direction, M2 is also significant, in that case we can go for PM to M3. If the applied load is significant, the axial load is significant, and it is, you can say, interacting with the moment, in that case we can have fibers in both directions for even beams and for even shear walls, thick shear walls, for example. So we will, in that case, will be using PM to M3 fiber hinges for them also. But since in ordinary shear walls, they are not designed for out of plane bending, and since we are not interested in the secondary moment M2, Therefore, mostly we use PM3 fiber hinge. Same is the case for beams. But if there are certain cases where the other moment is also significant, then we may also go for PM2 M3 for beams and shear walls also. I think it will show the maximum. I am not exactly sure about this, but the analysis reference manual should be I think checked for this thing. I think if there are several fibers in a particular cross section and uh, some are yielded, some are not yielded, the program will declare that element as a whole as yielded. It will still it will pick the maximum DC ratio. In case of Perform 3D, I can remember because there is also another program called Perform 3D, and most of these nonlinear modeling options which are available in ETABS, they are basically being shifted from Perform to ETABS. Perform is a general program, and I don't know I will have time, but I plan actually to have one session on Perform 3D also. That is a specialized program for nonlinear modeling. Uh, in that Perform 3D, you have to actually select some monitored fibers. So you can give some fibers that, okay, decide about the overall element based on the results of only these fibers. So if you have, for example, an RC element, a rectangular element, you will give the extreme 4 corners or extreme 4 fibers as the monitored fibers, because whenever the column will bend in either X or Y direction, these one of these 4 corners will be obviously under high compressive or tensile stresses. So the damage will be captured by using these extreme 4 fibers as the monitored fibers. So whatever fibers we give as monitored fibers, the program actually uses the results of those fibers to decide whether this element should be declared as yielded or should be declared as whatever is the condition. So,
Right.
but in ETABS, I don't know whether the concept of monitored fibers is there or not. I think we may not select while, because if there was such an option, we would have seen it somewhere that we have to select some fibers while defining them. Okay, we define 30 fibers in a section, but we only select 4 or 5 of them as the monitored fibers. That these should be monitored to decide about the performance of the element. I think no such option is available in ETABS, and it automatically may pick the maximum results or maximum DC ratios. I have to check that option in analysis reference manual. The 2 and 3 axis location or coordinates of a certain fiber corresponds to the center of that fiber. Since concrete fibers are actually the area fibers, even steel fibers have certain area. So the location of a particular fiber is actually the location of its center. Right. So please start practicing it, and in the next session we will discuss about plastic hinge modeling approach. So that's all about this demonstration, and I will see you in the next session.